Can't complain.
Okay. Where are you calling from?
I'm in the United States.
America? Oh, okay. Well, you're up north in Canada.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm a little bit sad about what's going on down in the US, but I hope you guys are doing fine there, man.
What do you mean?
Well, with the whole protests that are going on in the last few weeks.
Oh, that they'll pass over.
Oh, it's over now?
No, I mean like they'll pass. Eventually, people will just get tired of protesting and go away.
Yeah, I hope so because it's better for the whole country. Well, anyways, so let's discuss the topic. Islam equals bad.
Yes.
Why do you think that?
Why do I think that Islam equals bad? I think that Islam equals bad because if you look at any country that is dominated and is ruled by Islam, it's a terrible place to live. And that's just one of the few reasons, I guess.
Hello?
Did you hear me?
No, man. Sorry, you got cut off.
It's all right. I said that I think Islam is a oppressive, backwards religion, and the places where that religion is the power is a horrible place to live.
Mm-hmm. Okay, for example?
Syria, Iraq, Iran, Qatar, or the United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, lots of places, Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so I guess my question to you is, first of all, what is are you aware of what form of political government is some countries?
In which ones? They're different.
Okay, let's take for example Pakistan, or if you want to choose some other country that you are aware of, anyone you want to use. Are you aware of what sort of government is in that country?
Iran is it's a, I can't think of the word. It's when the religion is in control. It's a what's the word for it again? It escapes my mind right now.
Okay, well, let's because the thing is, I disagree with Iran as well. Because as you're probably aware, there's two different things in Islam. Do you have any other country that you're aware of?
What'd you say?
Any other country's government kind of system are you aware of? Let's take Saudi Arabia. Maybe you know about that.
All right.
Okay, and it's wrongly considered to be like the capital of the Islamic world, and it's almost like people think that Saudi Arabia represents Islam. But anyways, let's take Saudi Arabia for example. So their political system is a monarchy, or I believe is kingship, right?
Most Islamic states are either kingships or the church rules the world, the country.
Well, no, that's not true. So only Saudi Arabia in the Islamic world is kingship. There are there's other countries as well. Like for example, in Oman there's a prince as well. There's in Dubai there's a prince. But most Islamic nations are actually democratic. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. For example, Pakistan.
Can you give me an example?
I'm sorry.
Could you give me an example?
I'm not sure why. Can you repeat that again?
I said, can you give me an example? Can you give me a few examples?
Yes, sure. So Pakistan is considered an Islamic. It's called Islamic Republic. It has democracy there. There's votings and elections happen. In Afghanistan, there's this whole struggle going on there, but the government there is democratic. In Morocco, it's a democratic government. In Algeria, it's democratic. In Tunisia, it's democratic. In Egypt, there was a coup that happened a while ago, but before that, it was democratic. And in a few years, it's going to be democratic as well. Indonesia is democratic. Turkey is democratic. Malaysia is democratic. Where else can we look at? Albania is democratic. Macedonia is democratic. So the majority of the Muslim world is actually ruled by the democratic system.
Why do the people choose
there's
a horrible
some areas
way to live? Why do the people choose such a horrible way to live?
What do you mean by the whole? In terms of why they choose the.
A lot of the countries that you named, I don't really think are actually democratic. I think they're ruled.
Oh, they're democratic.
Well, I mean, you could say they're democratic, and on paper they're democratic, but
yeah.
will come to your house with automatic weapons and say you have to
Mm-hmm.
vote this way or you have to support this, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, we'll kill you. It's kind of it's
Mm-hmm.
not really democratic. I don't see how Islam and democratic republics and democratic countries don't really go hand in hand, because
Yeah.
Islam is not very accepting towards other ways to think.
Okay, so this is something. So, for example, like I personally believe that democracy and Islam, yes, they're not compatible. A democratic system is a kind of system that came from the West, from the European nations, and when they colonized the Muslim world, when they colonized Africa, they put puppets in the Muslim world. And all across the Muslim world right now, they're puppets, and that are actually, if you we take for example Pakistan military support is coming from the USA, right? They're puppets, and for us to say that Pakistan is a Muslim nation, that is totally wrong. It is not a Muslim nation. It is a democratically not a Muslim nation. I mean, the religion is Islam, but the politics is not it's run by the Islamic political system. Well, but hence, if we're gonna say that there are problems in the Muslim world, where do the Muslim? I mean, who? Well, they are, but what sort of governments are in the Muslim world? I mean, I'm not sure if you know, there is actually, Islam is unlike Christianity. Christianity is a religion basically, but Islam in Arabic, when you the word is deen, which basically means a way of life, right? And it's a way of life as an individual. It's a way of life as if from a family perspective. I mean, as an individual, I have some obligations towards my master, my Lord. But from a family, I also have obligation towards my family. For example, taking care of my mother, taking care of my father, my sister, my brother, my neighbors. They're part of my religion as well, right? Islam, it's now coming out of your family. It's going into your neighbors. Making sure that you have good relationships with them. But then also at an economic level, social level, and a political level. Now, I'm not sure if you know about this idea of a caliphate. You may or may not know. Okay, so you know about that. So tell me one thing. I want to ask you, if there are many problems in the world today, do you know that Islamic caliphate is no more? It doesn't exist anywhere. If you can give me an example of anywhere in the world where there's a caliphate, I would say
the extremist fighters in the Middle East.
Yeah, well, you can say that as a caliphate, but they're not. I mean, most 99%. I mean, I'm not sure if you know how a caliphate work. The way the caliphate works.
I get this a lot from Muslims. Are you a Muslim by any chance?
Yes, I'm Muslim.
I get this a lot. I debated a Muslim before. He told me his reason was they're not. He said that's not a caliphate. They're not real Muslims. They're not using. It seems like people, westernized Muslims like yourself and the guy that I debated before, that live in the Western sphere, they look onto the Islam that we have in the world and they say, oh, they're just not doing it right. That's what I see.
Okay. Well, okay. Let's go back in history. Okay. Let's go back in history, and then we can come back to why Islam is bad today. Because I can see why you think Islam is bad. In history, when Islam came in the Arabia, like I was saying before, it was not a religion as per you think of Christianity. It was a way of life from a political to economic. And when Prophet came, he made it a state. It was an ideology, a political ideology, economic ideology, and it was a state. So that state existed. Now, from the 680 AD, about the time when the Prophet was alive, all the way to the 1920s, and this is when the Ottomans were defeated in World War I, there was a caliphate, right? And every Muslim across the world used to pledge allegiance to that caliphate, right? And now that caliphate is gone, right? Because of colonization, because of what happened. And there was a good reason. There was actually the British, when they went into World War I, they wanted to defeat the caliphate because it had been a threat to the European powers for a long time. Actually, the only threat to the European powers had been the Islamic empires, and we can look at
the British. The British looked at the caliphate as the threat to their oil that they took a lot from the Arabs.
Took the threat to their oil. You said
Britain and World War I never wanted never wanted the
Yeah.
Arabs to be united, because then it was harder to defeat them, because the British loved the oil that they could get from the Arabs. They took a lot of it.
Yeah, and I mean that was the whole point of colonization, to take the resources and just direct them all the way to the British colonies. I mean, India, whatever you look at, right? I mean, that's colonization. But there was actually an effort to destroy the caliphate in the Turkish when the Ottomans were there. Now, what the problem is now, after this 1920s, the Muslim world went through a lot of injustices. I mean, it's going through a lot of it right now. Now, there's a couple of Muslims that are fighting. Actually, a lot of Muslims that are fighting to bring back that caliphate, right? Now, we differ between ourselves how to bring it back. There are people like ISIS that think that, bombing innocent people is okay, and that's how you bring back the caliphate, right? And there's people like myself and a lot of the other Muslims that don't believe that's the best way to do it. So,
Well,
yes, we don't agree with ISIS. Yeah.
Do you think that killing people because they're gay is okay?
No. And I'll tell you why I believe that. So in Islam, homosexuality is not allowed, right? That's a rule in our religion. I'm sorry?
Sharia law, right?
Yeah, under Sharia law. Yeah. So in a functioning Islamic society, homosexuality is not allowed. Now, if you are born a homosexual, as a homosexual person, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said people aren't born gay.
People are not born gay?
No.
Okay, we don't have to get into that argument, but regardless, if you have this desire for the same sex, right?
Yeah.
If you have that desire, in Islam, you're not allowed to kill that person because he has that desire, right?
Why do they do it in all the Islamic countries? Why do all the people in the Middle East do that?
So let me get to the point, okay? So let me get to the point. Let me explain to you about the gay thing first before I get to the Muslim countries. So I'm not married right now, right? I'm not married, and I'm actually a virgin as well. So if I was to go out there and commit basically a premarital sex, right? And people found out about it in an ideal Muslim world, if I was to do it openly, that's the law, that you do not go out and you do not commit premarital sex in the public sphere. Similarly, homosexuality in the public sphere is not allowed. Now, in the private sphere, it's allowed. As long as no one finds out, you do whatever you want. Your private life is your own life. But the reason it's not allowed is because we believe in our religion that it creates illegitimate babies, right? It creates what we call fitna, which is basically evil in the society. Now, in the Islamic world, like what you're saying in the Islamic world, I would argue right now that there is no Islamic world. All these countries are run democratically, or they have kingships. Now, they follow the religion.
I agree with what you just said. I agree that there is no united Islamic world where where 2 or 3 countries work together and they have the same Islamic rule. I agree with that, but I do think there is small Islamic. There are places under Islamic rule. I would argue that, and that they're not anywhere where anyone would want to live.
Sorry, you cut off. Sorry, you're cutting off. I can't really. Can you repeat that again?
The connection's not good. I was saying that.
It's okay.
I was saying that I agree with you that there is no united Islamic world, but I would say that there are territories dominated by Islamic. I wouldn't say extremists, but like Islamic. I don't know how to say it. It's dominated by Islamic culture, and it's not pleasant at all.
Well, you're right in a sense that let's say, for example, Afghanistan, right? Afghanistan right now, if you follow the news, it's not showing the news too much, but the democratic government is basically pretty much gone. I mean, 90% of Afghanistan is run over by Taliban, right? And there's no central authority. So when someone commits an unjust act, like for example, someone kills another person just for being homosexual, right? Or anything like that, right? I mean, where is the court? I mean, they don't accept the democratic court. They don't accept the democratic government. Where do they go for them? How do you get justice? And what I'm trying to get at is, yes, you're right. In some areas, there's culturalism, and they do these acts. But the person who is hurt by these acts, how?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, for sure.
Why do you think that Christianity doesn't have this problem? Because in America and England and places where there's a lot of Christianity, there is no problem like this.
Well, I would argue that if you go back to the true Christianity, and by the way, in true Christianity in England, they used to burn women
Which
alive because they used to believe they were in Europe. And at one time in Europe, they used to burn women alive that they thought they were witches, right?
but
And
Christians
they used to, oh yes, they evolved. And by the way, a religion that comes down, if you look at the Bible, if you look at true Christianity, your homosexuality is not allowed. But what the Pope has done is the Pope sees the world around them. He gets pressured by the people. This is what happened, and this is why we don't follow Christianity, because Christianity changes under societal pressure. If there was, for example, between truth and false, right? There's truth and false. Let's take a look at an example like drinking, or not even because drinking, what Christianity is allowed. But let's take an example of interest. We believe that interest was not allowed to Christians a long time ago, but because they fell under pressure from the society, the Pope decided, and by the way, in Islam you can't do this. The Pope decided that let's
Yeah, but don't
bend the
you think
rules.
that
So
that's
things
why
like, for
Islam has
example,
such a problem?
December
Because
25th.
Islam is unwilling to change, and people will say, if you're not willing to change, then we just won't follow you.
If Christianity,
I
can you repeat
said
the last part, please?
since Christianity has survived and thrived because it's willing to change. But don't you think that Islam will never be able to be accepted because it won't evolve? People just won't listen to Islam. They'll grow tired of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's look at the facts. Okay, Christianity is on the rise. It's
religion,
not on the rise.
religion is on the
Latin America.
Religion all across the board. Religion is down.
Well, that's correct. But for example, atheism is on the rise. That's a fact, right? Atheism is on the rise, especially in the West right now. Right. It's on the rise. But between religions, between Christianity and Islam is actually on the rise as well. Actually, much faster than Christianity. It's going to surpass Christianity in
Islam
2050.
is the fastest growing religion in the world.
Yeah, and by the way, if you look in USA, the people that convert is the woman, it's the white woman, it's the black people, and so you have to wonder, why are they converting? The reason people don't follow Christianity anymore is because Christianity has become a joke. People are the Pope changes the religion. Now, right now, the Christianity is going through a lot about this whole gay rights. It's going through. Actually, the Pope is under a lot of pressure, and he's changing the religion as it goes. And so, what we argue is, we don't look at the Pope for Christianity. We look at Jesus. We believe in Jesus as well. Jesus came down with some laws. Muhammad, maybe people came down with some laws, and you and I are not allowed to change the laws, no matter how much pressure we go through, right? And so, for you to say that Islam is actually, people will not follow Islam, that's not true. Actually,
Islam is the
fastest growing religion in the world,
but
it's actually growing very fast in the.
So it's not a good time to be growing.
Well, religion. Well, okay, we can look at the idea of if religion, we should have religion or not, or do we believe in God or not? I mean, that's and I'll tell you why the religion is dying.
More people believe in God than ever, but they loosely believe in God. They don't follow the rules. There are a lot of Muslims in the West who don't pray however many times they're supposed to pray. The women don't wear the burqas. A lot of people don't follow Islam, like you're saying, but they just claim Islam.
Yep. Yeah, and to be honest with you, we as a Muslim, like the way we deal with that is, you don't judge the sinner, you basically look at the sin, right? And if they're not doing it, they're trying. At least they're trying. But what cannot happen and does not happen in Islam is these people that are not practicing, they don't go point the finger at the Islam and say, oh, we need to change the religion. Can't do that. They know they can't do that, so they don't try. But anyways, yeah, sorry, go ahead. I cut you off.
No, it's okay. So I don't know how to say this. Since like the last 2 or 3 years, all these terrorist attacks in Germany, France, would you be in favor of? I know Canada's already allowed Syrian refugees, Muslim refugees, to come into the United States.
Yeah. Well, okay. The way I look at it, I don't look at it as a Muslim thing or a non-Muslim thing. It's not how you should look at it, because I become biased if I say that we should allow Muslims or not, right? It's not the way you look at it. The way you look at it is, should you blame the refugee or should you blame the cause that is making these refugees.
I would
I'm telling you, in Canada. I'm sorry?
I would blame the refugee.
You blame the refugees. Okay, so let me give you an example. There are refugees that are arriving in Syria, from Syria right now, and Canada has about 20,000 refugees arriving, right? And if you speak Arabic and if you talk to them, they don't want to come here. This idea that the refugees want to come here, they don't want to come here. They don't want to come to the USA. They don't want to come to the USA.
Let me say something real quick. All of
Yeah.
the people coming here from these Middle Eastern countries they're not the poor people who are dying in Syria. They're the middle class, rich Syrians who can afford to come here. So it doesn't help anyone, and they don't want to assimilate. They don't want to become a part of Western culture. So, we've seen this happen in France. We've seen this happen in Germany. The terrorist attacks in Canada are going to start happening.
Okay, no, wait. Just give me. I just want to cut you off. It's not like they don't want to come here and they don't want to assimilate and that sort of stuff. From what I know, I mean, people do not hate the West because of their freedom or because of their values, because of their democracy. We don't. As a Muslim, I don't care. That is your values. I am not to impose upon your values. What we hate, and every Muslim hates this, and if you go to these countries, is the fact the US's policies, the Canadian policies, the NATO's policies. And if those policies were not there, we would not have this refugee crisis. Well, let's look at the USA, for example. And, USA has its goods and USA has its bads. And these are the USA's bad. USA is in every Muslim country right now. They have a base in every Muslim country. They have
But do you understand why they're there?
Okay, well, you can justify it however you want, but let's reverse the table. If there was an Islamic nation and an Islamic nation bases were all over the world, how would you feel?
But we can't leave because the minute we leave, see, Muslims, we don't have to worry about Christians dropping nuclear bombs in their places. We have to worry about Islamic terrorists taking over an Iranian nuclear facility and then dropping bombs on the United States. We have to worry about things like that. We don't have to worry about that from the United States.
I'm sorry, man. You're cutting off. I think it's your connection. Can you please repeat that again?
Yeah, I mean, we're like countries away, so it's going to be like it's not going to be the best. But what I was saying was,
it's okay.
What I said was, we don't, in the West, we don't have to worry about a nuclear facility being taken over by terrorists. We have to worry about that in the Middle East. So it makes sense to have troops there. And we're already there. We can't leave.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Who is the one country that has actually used nuclear bombs?
The United States.
Right?
I mean, there are a bunch, but definitely the United States.
Yes. Well, so they have used the nuclear bombs. Who is bombing the most people right now?
The United States.
Across the world.
Canada, United States, UK, Italy, countries like that.
Yeah, the NATO regime, right? So now let's just reverse the tables. If Islam had a history of dropping, or Islamic nation had a history of dropping 2 nuclear bombs, right? Or of causing wars such as, or having wars in Vietnam or North Korea, or having wars in Latin America, or having invading Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Pakistan. I'm sorry?
The wars that we've been in, I mean, excluding obviously the Middle Eastern wars in the 2000s, Korea, Vietnam, we had to go there to stop communism.
It is debatable because even people in the U.S., they put a lot of public pressure on their own government to start the Vietnam War, right? They did not. You did not have to go there to kill some Chinese people that had posed no threats on you. It was the communism, I believe. It was a perceived threat. The Russians never came into America. The Islam is a perceived threat.
It was the Chinese.
This is something that I'm sorry?
It was the Chinese in Korea.
The Chinese in Korea. But what I'm trying to get at, if you were to look back in the last 50, 60 years, the amount of atrocities that have been done by the U.S. is a million times the ones that have been done by the Islamic nations. So to say that we pose the threat, or actually, I consider my part of my. I mean, I consider myself Canadian, but the people over there, the Muslims, they perceive a threat. I mean, if your house was bombed, man, what would you do?
Do you
You would,
realize?
you
Do you realize if we wouldn't have dropped these bombs and we weren't launching strikes in these countries, we can't. Do you realize if Islam grasped a foothold and was able to start,
Mhm.
if just the fact that if you look at the Islamic countries in the world, they're very weak. They don't have
Yeah.
very strong
Yeah.
militaries, most of them, and that the reason that America has kept it that way because America has the global economy at hand. They can crush anything. The
Mhm.
reason that the Islamic countries are not like prospering like you see like a lot of the countries in Europe and in the West are because the United States fears that Islam that's why we fear Iran so much is because Iran is the only Middle Eastern country right now that can develop a nuclear weapon and they are run by a ayatollah so their religion could dictate them attacking someone. That's why they fear the Islamic like country so mad. Is what I'm saying.
Okay. Just give me. Let me just clear out one thing. I'm not a supporter of Iran because Iran is Shia and they have a different belief system. There's one Muslim nation that has a nuclear bomb already. It's Pakistan. And it already has it. It hasn't used it, right? It hasn't abused it. It has, and America has not come in. In the last 60 years, America has no involvement in Pakistan. They're trying to get in, but they have not been able to get in. And that country has not directly attacked America itself. This idea that people have that if, like, for example, like the Muslims have nothing against their democratic system. They have nothing against anything. I mean, you guys enjoy your freedom. It's up to you. Enjoy it. I mean, I live in the West, so I know the good things that come with living in Canada as well, right? There's a freedom of speech. There's a freedom of whatever.
Let me ask you
that sort of stuff.
something. As a Muslim,
Yeah.
if you could implement Sharia law in the United States right now against the will of the United States people, would you do it?
I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to. Like, Sharia law doesn't work like that.
I'm saying, okay, would you support a Muslim takeover of the United States?
No, I won't because I mean, why would I? I have okay. I'm trying to ask you where that question is coming from. Like, Muslim takeover of the United States. It's something we don't care about. Just leave us alone. We will leave you alone. Simple as that. Or leave them alone. They'll leave you alone.
The problem is a lot of the Muslims in today's world come off as a more moderate member. A lot of the more
I'm not moderate. Trust me. I'll give you. I am considered I studied Sharia for 4 years. I'm considered one of the most conservative ones, and but I'm telling you, a lot of these Muslims that are saying this, these are young kids that are saying this that have gone overseas. They have not studied, and yes, that is a problem within the Muslim the community itself. Young kids that are getting radicalized on the internet because they see bombs being dropped upon their brothers and sisters, and they go overseas.
I mean,
I'm not a moderate one. I have
Christianity has that problem too, with crazy people saying we hate gay people and stuff. So both religions have that problem. It just seems like Islam has that problem to a violence extent, not just a hatred extent that Christianity has.
Well, I'll give you a really quick insight into Sharia. Okay, if anybody, regardless of how many atomic bombs they have, regardless of how much forces they have or army they have, if anybody comes to the Muslim region, we have a full right to defend ourselves, right? Just like you have a full right to defend yourself, right? And these people that are going overseas right now, they're looking at it as we're defending the Muslim world, right? That's what they're thinking of, and they have, because let's just be honest over here. There's an invasion. It's not. I mean, people don't like to say it. There's an American empire. I mean, it is everywhere. So they feel like they're defending the Muslim nation. But the problem becomes is there's no state as an Islamic state right now. There is no state, and you can't defend something that's not there.
Well, my phone is actually at 2%, but I appreciate this discussion. It helped me understand a few things.
Well, if you want to have another one, just let me know. I will have to.
Anytime, challenge my positions, and I'll accept it.
Okay. All right, man. Take care, eh?
Thank you.
Okay. See ya.